Welcome to Masterclass in Biology once again. We are continuing our series on the most valuable questions, and in this video we will talk about a very important chapter from human physiology, and this is chapter number 21 and neural control and coordination of class 11 syllabus. So as you are all aware that we are discussing the text matter that is given in the NCERT textbook, and we are trying to anticipate that which are the questions that are most likely to be asked in your NEET entrance exam. So with this objectivity in mind, let us begin the discussion on the sense organs in neural control and coordination. And in this first video, we will talk about one of the sensory organs, which is the human eye. So I am beginning with the discussion on human eye. So as you know that human eye is a spherical structure. The first question they will ask you about the three layers that make up this spherical structure of human eye. And if you look at the outermost layer, this would be sclera. Now please remember, sclera is made up of connective tissue, and this connective tissue provides protection to the eyeball. This is the outermost layer of the human eye. And we will see that there is a bulge on the anterior aspect. You will see that there is a bulge in this outermost layer of the human eye, and let us try to make this bulge something like this. So this is not coming out correct, so let me make it again something like this. It is more exaggerated, but I think you got the idea. So this is the anterior part where there is bulge. This is a transparent part. This is called as cornea. So the outermost layer anteriorly would be cornea, posteriorly would be sclera. The anterior surface of the cornea is the major refractory surface of the human eye. This is a very, very important question. Cornea is practically avascular. Corneal transplants are almost always never rejected. These are the important questions that they can ask you from the outermost layer. Now, if you look at the layer that is inner to sclera, this would be called as uvea in totality, UVEA. And if you look at the posterior most aspect, this is a highly vascular layer, and this highly vascular layer is actually called as the choroid. So this is choroid. It is pigmented, it is very vascular, very dark. It prevents the reflection of the light inside the eyeball, and at the corneoscleral junction, mind the word corneoscleral junction, you will see a bulge, and this would be the bulge would be having what are called as the smooth muscle fibers, and this thing forms what is called as the ciliary body, and this ciliary body will be important in what is called as the accommodation function of the human eye, where there is a change brought about in the shape of the human lens, so that the objects are kept on focus when they are brought nearer to the eye or they are taken away from the eye. That function of the human eye is called as accommodation. That will be facilitated by the smooth muscles of the ciliary body. And if you look at your NCERT, the anterior most part, this is again containing the smooth muscle. Incidentally, this part is opaque, and the pigmentation here gives your eye its color. So the eye color is because of the pigmentation that is present in this anterior most part. This is called as the iris, and immediately the aperture left in between. This is the aperture that is left between the irises. This is what is called as the pupil, and iris regulate the amount of light that enters through the pupil into the human eyeball. So light enters the human eyeball through the pupil. The amount of light entering the eyeball is actually regulated by the smooth muscles of the iris. So these muscles can act as sphincter pupillae and dilator pupillae. So they can constrict the size of the pupil, and they can relax the size of the pupil when needed. Now these are the two layers that we must be aware of. The innermost layer, as we all know, is the light sensitive retina, and it is anterior wavy part, what is called as the ora serrata. And then we know that this is the retina. It does not cover the entire eyeball, as you can see. So this innermost layer is called as the retina, And please remember a very important thing here. The retina is itself made up of large number of layers, and there are 3 cells which are given in NCERT. So retina can have a number of layers that can be up to actually 10 in total. But let us limit ourselves again to NCERT in this series, and there are 3 cells mentioned, and if you go from inside to outside, they would be called as the ganglion cell, and then the bipolar cells, and then finally outermost would be the photoreceptor cells. So the outermost of the 3 cells would be the photoreceptor. This is very important to understand. And then NCERT talks about the 2 types of photoreceptors in the human eye, one which are called as the rods, the second which are called as the cones. Rods are responsible for vision in dim light, what is called as a scotopic vision, where the sensitivity is high, the resolving power is less, and actually the color perception is not great. So this is where the function of rods come in. This is what is called as a scotopic vision. Cones are responsible for vision in bright light, which is actually called as photopic vision. The visual acuity means sharpness of vision is very high, and please remember that the color perception is possible in the photopic vision. So I hope this thing, we will talk about rods and cones later on as well. So I hope you have understood that these would be the outermost cell. Now what is important to understand is that when light enters the human eye, it goes through so many layers and then stimulates the photoreceptors, the rods and cones. And these rods and cones, in a backward manner, if I can say, will start stimulating the other cells. And finally, on the innermost aspect, there would be the nerves, the optic nerve fibers. And these optic nerve fibers have to leave the eyeball. And these optic nerve fibers leave the eyeball. At that point where they actually leave the eyeball, you will not find the presence of the photoreceptors. And this is the reason that the human eye actually has what is known as an optic disc or blind spot. So I hope this thing is now absolutely clear. It is a very important question. What is optic disc or blind spot? So we know this is the point where the optic nerve is actually leaving the human eyeball. Now let us look at the lens. The human eye lens is made up of elastic crystalline proteins. Elastic means its shape can be changed, and crystalline would mean that it is transparent so that light can go through. And this lens is suspended somewhere here, and it is suspended with the ciliary body with the help of what are called as the zonary ligaments or the suspensory ligaments. And when the ciliary body is totally relaxed, the pull of the suspensory ligament is at the maximum, and therefore the lens is maximally flat and therefore is weakest. This is very important. When ciliary body actually contract, the pull of the suspensory ligaments on the lens actually get lessened, and this leads to the lens assuming a more spherical shape. More spherical means more refractory or strong, and this is how the accommodation is actually brought about. So I hope this thing is now absolutely clear. Then NCERT talks about that what is present here. This chamber, which is called as the aqueous chamber, has a fluid which is called as the aqueous humor, and this aqueous humor actually circulates and is actually reabsorbed again, and that is why there is a circulation of aqueous humor. Again, I am telling you, I have done a very good video on the human eye. If you want to know some more details of the human eye, you are most welcome to watch that video. In this video, I am limiting myself to the text matter that is given in NCERT, because we both know that almost all questions in your NEET entrance exam will be based on the text matter given in NCERT textbook. So in every video I have re-emphasized this particular point. Try to keep this objectivity in mind. This is just before NEET entrance exam, and we are limiting ourselves only to NCERT as much as possible. And behind behind the lens, as you can see, this is the larger chamber. There is another special fluid. It has a gel-like consistency, and this one is called as the vitreous humor. And this vitreous humor, when it is filled in the eyeball, will maintain the shape of the eyeball. And this is an important question of vitreous humor. Now, if I recollect, then we will say that this thing, so I will be pointing with arrows. Can you name what exactly is this layer? Can you tell me what is this layer? Do you know what are the functions that I have told you? Then what about this one? What is the function of this part of the human eye, and what is the function of this part of the human eye? And what was the sequence of the cells in the retina, and what is this, what is called as the optic disc? So this is the another word that I am giving you. Actually, you know this thing more clearly by the name of blind spot. Now, in the center of the retina, you will see a circular area. This has a large percentage of cones that are actually accumulated here, so that will be concentrated here. So this is the area where there are large number of cones. So the number of rods is virtually very, very low. So sometimes people say that there are no rods here. What I am trying to say is that predominantly what is present here, cone. And we know that in cone, because of the cone, there is a high visual acuity. So that means if something is falling on this part of the human eye, the visual acuity will be very, very high. And this circular area is actually called as macula lutea. So this is called as macula lutea. In the center of the macula lutea is the fovea centralis, where the other layers are pushed laterally, and therefore the light practically falls directly on the photoreceptor cell, which are actually predominantly cones. And therefore in fovea centralis, the visual acuity is actually the highest. So visual acuity is the highest. I hope this thing is absolutely clear. Please understand what is macula lutea and what exactly is fovea centralis. So if we look at the NCERT doesn't mention about the accommodation, but if you are going to a medical entrance and anticipating any question that may actually be asked outside NCERT, so we will have a very, very quick look here. So very quick look here. So this is the refractory surface of the human eye, and let us say this is the retina, and the ciliary body is totally relaxed. I know now we understand what exactly it means, and there is the person is focusing on a distant object which would be more than 20 feet in distance away from the human eye, and the rays are being refracted to a focal point on retina. So this type of vision should be called as emmetropia. Now what happens is that if you bring the object closer, without changing the shape of the lens, it is likely to go beyond the focal point. But as you bring the object closer, and if the ciliary body contracts and the lens becomes more and more spherical, you can still keep the object for a considerable distance focused on a focal point in retina. But obviously this thing is called as accommodation, so this would be called as near accommodation. And similarly, if a near object is taken away, then there will be a corresponding change in the shape of the human lens, and again you will be able to keep this object on focus. This function is called as accommodation, and the ciliary body plays a very, very important role in accommodation, as you can see, because of the pull of the suspensory ligaments and on the elastic and crystalline lens. So I hope this thing is absolutely clear, and as you bring the object clearer and clearer, nearer and nearer to the eye, there would be a near point of vision, because then the accommodation power will be actually totally exhausted. So in spite of NCERT not mentioning this, I have just given you a little bit of idea. So I am avoiding any discussion on hypermetropia, myopia, and your favorite presbyopia, cataract, etc., and obviously glaucoma and the other diffraction errors. I am not going into the details, to the disappointment of many students, because I am trying to keep myself limited right now to the NCERT textbook. Now the next thing to understand would be that the role of the photoreceptors. So let me make a diagram of rod. So this is what is called as an outer segment. This is what is called as inner segment. This would be the nucleus part, and then there is a synaptic body. So something like this would be the structure of a rod. And similarly, if I just alter the shape of the outer segment, it will become actually it will become what is called as the cones. As you can see that these are the rods and these are the cones. Both of them will have some protein. So therefore they will be synthesizing some pigments, and these pigments will be helping rods in scotopic vision and cones in photopic vision. And to synthesize the pigment, they will require what is called as an aldehyde. This is an aldehyde of vitamin A. Incidentally, please remember that vitamin A is stored in the human eye in the form of retinol. So this is something very, very important, or retinoid ester, and it is converted into retinol. This is the aldehyde form that the NCERT talks about, and this retinol form will actually combine with a protein which will be called as an opsin. In the rods this would be called as a scotopsin, and in cones it will be called as photopsin, and they will form the pigment. In the rods, the pigment that would be formed will be called as rhodopsin or the visual purple, and this visual purple actually increases the sensitivity of the eye to the light, which means that in spite of limitation of the light, the eye will be able to make an image of the object. We'll try to understand what exactly is the form of the object, but probably the visual acuity will be very, very low, and similarly the color perception is likely not to be present. So this is a rhodopsin, and if you look at, as I told you, if we look at the cones, then we are looking at the opsin which is called as photopsin. Now there are three types of cones. So there are three types of cones, and these cones, they have a particular absorbing type of wavelength type of preferences, as you have seen for the pigments in photosynthesis as well. So you have the cones that are very sensitive to a light in the wavelength of the red end of the visual spectrum. Some of them would be for green, and then some of them would be for blue. So these are the three primary type of cones, and you can understand by the differential sensitivity of the different cones, you will be able to see all the color. Just like you try to make the different colors by mixing these colors, you can actually have the different percentage of the cones getting sensitive, and therefore a different perception of the color. And a very important question that NCERT talks about is that if all of them are equally stimulated, you will get a perception of white color. Can you tell me what will be the what will happen if you perceive what is called as black color? So NCERT tells you about white, all are equally stimulated. This would be a white color sensation. I hope this thing is now absolutely clear. So we are looking at what is called as rhodopsin and retinol cycle. This is something very important, and just what happens is that this retinol, which is stored in the human eye, once you enter into a dark area from a brightened or illuminated area for a short period of time, you are not able to see clearly. And then when you stay in the dark room for a particular period of time, immediately you can see that you are able to see the things even in spite of lack of light. This is how I told you that the sensitivity of light is being increased, and this thing has been increased by a pigment which is called as rhodopsin. And what happens is that this retinol gets converted into the aldehyde form. As I told you, this would be retinol, and it will combine with an opsin, and this opsin will form what is called as the visual purple or rhodopsin. So this is what happens when you enter into a dark area from an illuminated area. So this is the second function of the human eye, which is actually called as adaptation, and this adaptation would be called as the dark adaptation. And with dark adaptation, you expect that there would be pupil dilation. So if the pupil gets dilated, the size of the pupil is increased, then immediately you can understand that more light, whatever is available, because light is now getting limiting. So there is a logical thing that the pupil should be dilated so that more light is able to pass through it. So this is what happens during what is called as dark adaptation. And if you look at the light adaptation, actually what happens is that this pigment that we are talking about, the rhodopsin, is very, very light sensitive. So if the light falls on it, it gets bleached. So it gets bleached, and you can use the word it gets oxidized, and is converted into certain intermediates, and no need of remembering the name of intermediates. A would be Bathrhodopsin, B will be Lumerodopsin, C will be Metarhodopsin 1, and D will be Metarhodopsin 2. If you are making a note, you are wasting the time. This is what I say, that please be smart right now. This is not an ego issue. This is something, getting the 4 numbers that can be asked from this section, getting that correct. This is what gets you into a medical college. So you know everything about everything except NCERT. I don't think it is going to rescue you in the NEET entrance exam. So this time, the time is short. My smart study sense tells me that I must limit myself to NCERT as much as possible, and then it actually breaks down again into opsin and what is called as the retinol. So immediately you can see that this is retinol rhodopsin cycle, the visual purple cycle. I am saying again and again that this pigment is called as visual purple. It increases the sensitivity of the eye to the light, and in spite of the limitation of the eye, you will be able to form an image of the object once you enter from an illuminated area into a darker area. And what happens when you come back into an illuminated area? This thing would be called as the light adaptation, and obviously we anticipate that the pupil size will get constricted. So this thing will become constricted, because we do not want lot of light entering the human eyeball, because the object itself is highly illuminated and it is easy to make an image for the human eye. I hope this thing is now absolutely clear. There has been a question that has been asked in the past. It is again not from NCERT, but it has been asked because in recent part. So I am just giving you some fact that you please try to remember is that unlike all other receptors, these receptors, the rods and cones, they are actually excited by hyperpolarization rather than depolarization. This is something very, very unusual. So this is something very, very unusual. Please try to remember the rods and cones, something unusual about it. Now, the final thing to remember is that the optic nerve that leaves the eyeball is carrying the afferent fibers. So the sensory fiber, so it is a sensory cranial nerve, and you know that the optic nerve is the second cranial nerve. Where will be that final destination actually? So it will be in the visual cortex. And do you remember that the visual cortex is located in the occipital lobe, where this sensory input is analyzed and is converted into an image, and you are able to see an object. So these are the basic questions that have been given in your NCERT regarding this sense organ, which is human eye. When I come back, we will do a very short video on the other sense organ given in the NCERT textbook about the human ear, and we will try to understand exactly about the internal ear, which is actually problematic for many students.